I think we'll give me your perspective on it if we could.
Well, a previous governor has taken a different pathway, which ultimately led to IOUs, which were declared unconstitutional. I think this is another unprecedented move, which frankly will not withstand scrutiny. Obviously, those obligations are still those that we have to be made, and frankly, it's not prudent to engage in delayed payments. As we indicated, and you raised the appropriate question, it presents a significant harm on Wall Street. It raises the possibility of significant legal exposure to the state of California, and the unprecedented harm that is going to happen to 200,000 public servants and their families is a course that needs to be avoided at nearly all costs.
Okay. Any questions, Senator Denham?
Yeah, could you restate what our current cash reserve is?
At the beginning of this fiscal year, we had $12 billion in internal borrowables available.
And what is it currently today?
Do you guys have the numbers?
I thought you stated it at the beginning of your testimony. No?
It's right around that number, Senator.
Okay. And what bills are currently going unpaid?
You have categorical spending for some education programs. You have a number of community college payments that are not paid. You have institutional providers for Medi-Cal services, private sector billings. Those are the largest expenditures that are not currently being paid.
Nursing homes? Are there any payments being withheld to nursing homes?
Depend on the category.
It depends on the category, and I would say yes.
Health clinics?
Yes, after a certain level.
Convalescent homes?
Same category.
Can you state your name for the record so we can
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair and members, Michael Carter, Chief Operating Officer for the Controller.
Thank you.
Also payments to pharmacists for Medi-Cal prescriptions?
Yes, and that listing is on our website of the items that would be paid versus not paid under a no-budget situation.
And do we currently, is it also your position then that if we have this internal borrowing capability that those bills could also be paid?
If the law allowed for us to pay those bills could be paid.
And you also stated that if the paychecks were deferred, then interest would be owed on those when the final payment is due?
If we were in violation of federal law, it was later found because we did not pay appropriate wages.
Is there interest that would be due as well on the payments to schools, nursing homes, health clinics, convalescent homes, or Medi-Cal providers at the end of this budget crisis?
No.
Are those not also human faces and have a human cost to those costs as well?
They are absolutely human faces, and those they are vulnerable populations that we all ought to be strongly concerned about.
Well, I guess one of the questions that I have, not only for you but for the legislature as well, I believe that these bills should be paid as well. I believe that we should pay our hardworking folks of the state that are out there doing a job, but I also believe that we should pay all of our bills. And I had a bill this year, I had a bill last year that did both of those in an emergency appropriation. So I think it's somewhat hypocritical that the governor has done this to create some pressure, but yet the majority in this House has also wanted to hold up the payments to create pressure as well. So I guess there's no real question there, but it is certainly a frustration of mine that the governor has now one-upped you guys, and I still believe that we should pay all of our bills. And if you're going to pay interest on the workers' paychecks, I believe you got to pay interest on Medi-Cal providers and everybody else that's depending upon the state and not getting paid right now.
So I guess, not to paraphrase Senator Denham, I guess he agrees with you then. Is that right, Senator Denham? I mean, no other way to look at it. But let me ask a question Senator Denham's asked. I
don't think that... No, I
want to pay all our bills, right?
Yeah, you're saying we're going to pay some of our bills, but Medi-Cal providers and the convalescent homes should get withheld.
And that's what the governor's saying. I think you would saying, Mr. Controller, you'd like to pay all of our bills, correct? And we can't choose what bills to pay and what we can't. And more importantly, payroll expenses, you would agree, Senator Denham, should be the first paid. You always pay your employees in your corporation first, right?
Absolutely, but I also have to pay our vendors, otherwise they stop doing business with us.
Which one would you pick?
I'd pay all of our bills.
Right. Mr. Controller, is that where we're at?
Yeah, but You can't say both things when there's members of this whole committee that voted against it already once, and this bill from last year, all of you voted against. I mean, this pays line by line every single one of those appropriations.
Right. And Senator Den would recognize that when we made those judgments, we made them as a body whole with a full budget, correct?
It's from last year.
Yeah. Do you keep all those things in your office, Senator Den? That's amazing. No props. Sergeants, can we remove the props from the dais? So, Mr. Controller, let me ask you a question, if I could, about the actual, if you could, reprogramming of the system. You mentioned that earlier. I think it's very, very important to understand this point. So maybe you can please give us a bit of an update. I do know, reading the case, it was an issue years ago, and I know that you've requested the legislature to take some actions on these types of issues as well, but maybe we can get an update if we could.
Sure. Actually, I will have both Don Shetman, who runs payroll at the Controller's Office, and Rick Chavarro respond. Don can talk about the technological aspects of the payroll system, and Rick will address the legal issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. My name is Don Shetman. I'm the Chief of Personnel Payroll.
Pull that mic up a bit closer to you. Thanks.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. We did attempt to program our system a number of years back, and we made a good faith effort to comply with the direction the court appeared to be going. And we ultimately shelved that capability that we were working on. The reason is that our payroll is a very complex environment. Our programs are very complex, and we're unable to generate the capability that would allow us to create accurate pay. But even more important than that, the problem that we encountered is that once we did it, we were unable to recover in a timely manner. So what we were facing is that if we were able to reduce employees to a minimum wage, it would have taken us months and months of effort once a budget was signed to actually generate the pay to make them whole. And in our mind, that was unacceptable, and I believe that in the court's mind it was unacceptable. We have a multitude of complexities. We have 33 bargaining units. We pay 500,000 payments per month. We have 300,000 employees, 700 deduction companies. I can go on and on with numbers, with a variety of payment types that we address. But ultimately, what it gets down to is that we have a system that reflects the business practices of the state. We developed that system to allow us to pay people the amount that they were owed. It was not developed to allow us to pay them less than that amount. Now, to go back and tell that system to do something different is a very complex issue, and to recover from that decision would be a catastrophe in my mind and would result in all other payments being held.
Well, let me ask a question given that very important piece of information. I read the court case a bit different. It seems to me that the court case is saying the governor should consult with the controller to figure this out at some point in time. Did the governor's office weigh in on this? I mean, this is, if we knew we were heading in this direction or we thought somehow we were going to have to decipher between wages, I mean, has there been ongoing discussions with the governor's office prior to this?
For legal issues, I think I can, if I could.
Yeah, this is Rick Chavarro, Chief Counsel for the Controller's Office, and we have had no discussions with the Governor's Office on the feasibilities of doing this particular task. The first we learned about it was that we heard there was a draft executive order, which would have given us a very short time frame to do something that was very difficult and, in fact, not only infeasible but impossible.
So let me add, Senator. We did have a discussion with Dave Gilb and Mike Janess, I believe, the day after the executive order was signed, to indicate to them the statements that were shared earlier by Don that it is infeasible from the Controller's Office, pragmatically, to put it into place.
Okay. And then